So the Mission Impossible films, for me, go pretty good with bad Tom Cruise hair, really bad with great Tom Cruise hair, okay with okay Tom Cruise hair, and fantastic with fantastic Tom Cruise hair. Twice. Point is, as a fan of action films, as a big fan of spy films, and as a fan of good films in general, I love this franchise. The last two in particular are two of my favorite action movies ever. So expectations were pretty high for the sixth entry for me. So, now that it's out, let's talk about it.
You use a scalpel. I prefer a hammer.
You can't take the heat, don't light the fuse.
So did MI6 live up to my very high expectations? Yes it did. Mission Impossible Fallout is spectacular. On Instagram I said it might be my favorite film of the year so far. That was right after I got out of it. Having let it sink in a little longer, it might not be my absolute favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's pretty much everything you would want from a film like this. Also, I'm not going to talk spoilers here, but I am going to talk about a few small details in terms of the structure of the film, and a few certain scenes that won't spoil the movie, but you might not want to know, so maybe just watch this after you've seen the film. Cast-wise, okay, Tom Cruise, I know I make fun of him quite a bit, especially on the podcast, but regardless of the interesting things he may do in his personal life, he is a great movie star. Not only the doing his own stunts thing, which we'll get to later, but he's just fun to watch and charismatic and basically what you'd want from a movie star. Ethan Hunt's team is great again. Ving Rhames, the only other cast member who's been with this franchise since the start, he's good. Rebecca Ferguson is just as badass as she was the last time around. And Simon Pegg is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's very funny and provides natural feeling comic relief. And on the whole, the movie is quite funny. Sean Harris returns as this super creepy snake-like villain, and he is fantastic. Character-wise, he's not that exceptional as far as villains go, but for the purposes of this movie, he's very hateable, he's very creepy, he works as the one they have to take down. The rest of the cast, Baldwin, Bassett, they're good too. Jeremy Renner is also awesome. And then the big new addition, Henry Cavill as August Walker. Henry Cavill is a great actor, and I feel like he hasn't gotten a chance to really show that as much in the DC films. And the one movie where I felt like his character really started to shine was forever ruined by this movie in a way. But here, he's awesome. He adds a great new dynamic to the team, and it's very fun to see him playing off of Tom Cruise, in both conversation and action. It's like they say in the film, Ethan is like a scalpel, while Walker is like a hammer. He's just this bull in a china shop tank who just gets the job done as fast as he can, and I thought that was a really fun new addition. And Cavill pulls it off really well. Also yes, the stash is as glorious as you would have hoped. Then, the other biggest part of these films is arguably the action, and does this movie ever deliver on that? This might have the best action scenes of any Mission Impossible film, and that's saying something. The thing that's great about it is that there's such a variety of action. There are fist fights, there are car chases, there are motorcycle chases, there are foot chases, there are helicopter duels, and it's all fantastically executed. One of the highlights has got to be that bathroom fight. Again, seeing the guy they're trying to take down, Cavill, and Hunt's different fighting styles clash was incredibly entertaining. Also, can I just say, I know this is sort of an obvious point, but I love that Mission Impossible theme so much. When it comes on during the action sometimes, I just can't help but smile. The movie also has actual stakes. Like, I genuinely thought a character could die at some point in this film, so it had me sort of on the edge of my seat, even if I suspected, yeah, it's probably gonna work out. This has one of the best action movie finales I think I've ever seen. It is incredible. It's set in this absolutely gorgeous location, one of the most beautiful locations in any Mission Impossible film. It's excellently shot, it's clever, it all looks real, it's phenomenal. My heart was pounding that entire time. And like everyone knows, Tom Cruise does his own stunts and everything, yada yada. But it does actually make a difference in the action, because it looks totally real. You can tell he actually does these things. And as much as some people might say it's just a publicity thing and a gimmick, it actually improves the action scenes. So good on you, Cruise. Keep doing what you do. Also, one of my problems with Mission Impossible 4 is that the movie kind of peaks with the Burj Khalifa scene, like right in the middle, and while the rest is still great, nothing ever gets that amazing again. But here, the whole movie builds to this epic finale, and the climax of the film feels like a proper culmination, and is easily the peak of action and stunts and excitement in an otherwise action-packed film. So, bravo for that. The movie has a lot of twists and turns, it keeps you intrigued throughout, even if some are a bit obvious. And I'll mention this in the negatives, but while it does have a similar formula as the other films, it's never boring because of it. Because of how they change the elements inside that formula, the action, the locations, the characters, it still feels fresh. Kinda like a modern-day Indiana Jones in that sense.
Don't call me Junior.
The movie is well-paced, there are no long stretches of just nothingness, or action scenes that go on for seemingly years. The movie is also very well made, with some great cinematography, maybe better than the previous films. There are some gorgeous shots in this movie, one involving a motorcycle helmet, that hall of mirrors, and basically the entire finale is just amazingly shot. Everything looks totally real, which I loved. And again, like the other Mission Impossible films, it doesn't hurt that most of this movie is set in some beautiful locations. There are some tense scenes in this that absolutely work. There are also a surprising number of references to the other movies, which these haven't really done before. They've been more independent. But hey, I'm glad to see Ethan's rock climbing finally came back into play. The movie also has surprisingly interesting characters and motivations, especially with Ethan and Elsa, or Ilsa, or however you say it. For a while, we didn't really know a lot about Ethan Hunt, but they really started fleshing him out, and I thought some of the stuff they talk about with his wife was interesting. Speaking of which, Michelle Monaghan is back from 3, which I thought provided some good development for Ethan, but also I fear for the movie that a lot of people are not going to know who she is. I mean, they do establish in the movie who she is, but any emotion that could have been built up from that movie will be lost on a lot of people who haven't seen it. In my cinema, I heard some girls behind me whispering about how they were confused and didn't get who she was. So I don't know, I think there's a sizable part of the audience who won't have seen that film or who don't remember it. I did also appreciate how this movie really acknowledges the Mission Impossible tropes. That led to some interesting and funny moments. Like how Hunt has gone rogue in like every single film, so now they suspect he might be going rogue again because of how many times he's gone rogue before. There's also a line and response in here that I won't spoil about hope that cracked me up because it's very true for these past 5 films. Also, and this is veering towards spoiler territory, so I'll keep this very vague, but there were 2 scenes that I really didn't like at the start and ended up loving. That's all I'll say for now. Besides maybe a lot of spy stuff, which I'll get to a little later, this really just has everything you could want out of a Mission Impossible film. Awesome action, cool one-liners, Tom Cruise trying to kill himself in front of a film crew, Tom Cruise doing his infamous Muppet run, masks, everything. It's a very fun, entertaining, satisfying film. Now, having said all those super positive things, you might assume I have no complaints with this. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. There's nothing movie-breaking here, but there were a few things I wasn't a big fan of. For one, the first action scene of the film I didn't really like, and not because of the action, but because of a really ridiculously stupid thing these characters do. And the whole movie kind of hinges on this mistake that's made in like the first 5 minutes. And that kind of sucks, because I thought that was the most ridiculous mistake possible. The fact that these super spies who've been doing this for like 20 years now make an incredibly rookie mistake just sort of irritated me. And if they didn't actually make a mistake that stupid, because I still just find it hard to believe that they did, the movie didn't do a very good job of conveying that. The film's story on the whole, although, like I mentioned, it does make fun of Mission Impossible tropes, it does still use them. This isn't that new of a story. From the general premise to specific moments, we've seen a lot of this plot-wise before. The movie is creative in other ways, like the execution of a more overdone story, so that didn't really drag down the experience for me, but I feel it should still be pointed out. Even the villain's plan, while not identical at all, reminded me a lot of the villain's plan from Mission Impossible 4. There's one pretty predictable twist from the very start, although I guess the movie didn't really try to make it not predictable. It's hard to explain without spoiling, but the movie wasn't trying to do like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. It's just sometimes these twists happen, and I was like, oh, were we not supposed to already know that? There's also one scene where a character very, very clunkily delivers some exposition in that movie way that no normal person, especially a super spy, would ever do. The movie also requires a lot of suspension of disbelief, which isn't really a problem for me, because with this type of film, that's sort of a given, and part of the fun, that this isn't going to be that realistic. I'm not going to go into Mission Impossible and pick apart all the unrealistic stuff. But sometimes, it seems a bit inconsistent with the rules of the world, and it might have gotten a little too ridiculous for its own good. Like, the ridiculousness in this movie ranges from tiny stuff that's more just slightly amusing for a second, like how after the most brutal fight sequences, these characters don't have a single scratch or bruise on their face, to, like, Fast and Furious levels of unbelievableness. I wouldn't have a problem with it, and I still don't have a big one, if the movie just was a little more consistent. Like, sometimes it seemed to be a little more serious and grounded, and then most of the time it went back to the classic, more ridiculous, over-the-topness, and that contrast just made the really out-there ridiculous moments stick out more. Don't get me wrong, ridiculous moments and unbelievable stuff is to be expected in Mission Impossible, like when Ethan survives this car park death machine, or when they trap the villain in a giant glass box in 5. But I mentioned that when I reviewed those, so it's only fair that I mention it here. Also, occasionally, it's very transparent that they just want to get to this big, giant set piece that's as tense as possible, and they don't do it very cleverly, at least one time. In the setup for the finale, there's a plot device that they mentioned right before, without much explanation, which sort of made me chuckle, just because it's very obvious that they just wanted to make this mission as impossible as they could. Still, I love the action scene that set up, so whatever. And finally, this isn't really a big complaint or anything, because this film is very entertaining as an action film, But ever since Ghost Protocol, which was the peak of crazy spy gadgets, which is the type of spy stuff that I love the most, these films have become more just straight-ahead action films, with the occasional spy stuff. Like, it's still great, but I just personally love that crazy spy stuff so much that I wish we could see more of it. Overall, though, I loved Mission Impossible Fallout. The, at times, by the books and kinda predictable plot is totally overshadowed by the action, the characters, and the overall fun and excitement of the film. I feel like a lot of the films I've talked about recently I've just thought were alright, and I've said, I don't really see myself revisiting this. Well, this film actually made me feel something, and I can totally see myself rewatching this. It's another excellent entry in one of the best franchises, and I think if you count Mission Impossible 4, 5, and 6 as its own trilogy, it's definitely one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I'll give Mission Impossible 6 a 9.5 out of 10. As far as where I'd rank it, I'd put it here. But that could change to this, cause I like these two pretty evenly. So those were my thoughts on Mission Impossible 6. What did you think of it? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, check out this podcast about movies and TV and whatnot I do every other week with a friend of mine, it's called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.